In a quiet Igbo village, surrounded by green hills and red soil, lived a little boy named Obinna. He was no more than 8 years old when life took a heavy turn. His mother, the only one who truly understood his heart, had fallen sick and passed away one rainy morning. Since that day, Obinna's world was never the same again.
A few months later, Obinna's father, Nnamdi, brought home a new wife, Amaka. At first, Obinna tried to smile, hoping she would love him like a mother. But her eyes were cold and her words carried a sharp edge. When Nnamdi was home, she acted gentle, cooking, laughing, and calling Obinna my son. But when his father went to the farm or the market, her voice changed. She made him wash clothes, fetch heavy water pots, and sleep hungry if he ever made a mistake.
At night, Obinna would lie on his thin mat and stare at the old roof above him. Sometimes he whispered to the stars, "Mama, can you hear me?" Tears rolled down his small face as he wished she could come back just to hold him once more. But every morning, he still woke up, wiped his eyes, and tried to be strong.
That afternoon, while trying to help in the kitchen, a plate slipped from Obinna's trembling hands and broke. The sound of the shattering plates filled the air. Amaka's face changed instantly. She stared at him with fire in her eyes, her voice rising. "What have you done, Obinna? Can't you do anything right?" The little boy stood frozen, tears gathering in his eyes. He wanted to speak, but no words came out. When Nnamdi returned from the farm, Amaka's voice turned soft again. She smiled, served food, and acted as if nothing had happened. Obinna sat quietly in one corner, his small hands shaking, afraid that one wrong word could bring more trouble. His father looked at him once and sighed. Maybe he noticed. Maybe he didn't want to believe it.
One bright morning, the school bell rang from a distance. Obinna wore his old uniform. The shirt was torn, his slippers broken, but he still wore them with pride. He walked to school with his books wrapped in a nylon bag, his eyes full of quiet strength. Even though he was hurting inside, there was a small spark of hope in him. A dream that one day his pain would become his power. At school, his teacher, Mrs. Ada, noticed him. She saw how silent he always was, how he hid his bruised emotions behind his smile. One afternoon, she called him aside and said softly, "Obinna, you are stronger than you think. Never stop believing in yourself." That moment became the first time in a long while that someone saw him, truly saw him. And for the first time, he felt a small warmth inside his heart.
In school, Obinna found something he loved, drawing. He would sit under a mango tree and draw faces, houses, and animals on old sheets of paper. Each drawing became a small escape, a way to tell his story without words. His teacher saw his gift and encouraged him to join an art competition. He hesitated, but then he remembered his mother's gentle smile, so he tried.
When the results came, Obinna had won first place in the whole district. The principal announced his name and everyone clapped. His picture was printed in the local paper, "The Boy Who Paints His Hearts." When Nnamdi saw it, he finally realized the strength his son carried. He looked at Obinna with tears in his eyes. "My son, I am proud of you." Amaka stood behind, silent. Something in her face softened that day. Maybe regret, maybe surprise.
Years passed. Obinna grew older, wiser, and stronger. He became a young artist whose drawings told stories of courage,
forgiveness, and love. Whenever people asked where his strength came from, he smiled and said, "From the days when I had nothing but hope." He learned that pain can break you, but it can also build you. And through it all, his mother's spirit never left him.
Sometimes the smallest light shines from the deepest pain, and sometimes a broken heart learns to heal, not by forgetting, but by forgiving. That was Obinna's story, a story of loss, courage, and the strength to rise again. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that turn pain into purpose. Because here, on this channel, every story reminds us hope is never truly lost.